Hi, welcome to episode 356 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffy Kira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, which is where this episode and every episode show notes will be. And I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea, where I sell my handspun yarn and patterns. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, December 13th, and we are steadily moving towards the end of the year. I hope that you have had a good week/weekend and are kicking off for another great week ahead. This past week was busy but not unmanageable, and this past weekend we did a lot of hanging out at home and just chilling, which was really nice because we haven't done that much in the last several weeks. Mostly we just hung out. We went out and got a meal. And we did lots and lots of knitting. My husband finished his first knit blanket ever. He knit it on a loom and was doing it as a charity donation project. So he is pleased to be finished, and we're going to wash those today and then send them off. Longtime viewers may remember that I knit several charity blankets this year, and those are going to go with him. So we'll make a nice donation of 4 blankets. So that is one of the things we spent the weekend working on. I also have, I'm working on finishing, tonight I will be finished with that knit pick sample, which means I think until the end of the year, I'm more or less on my own to choose what it is I want to knit. I do have a few projects in mind, and I brought a few things to show you today, so we'll get to that momentarily. Other than that, I don't think there's a lot to share. The end of the year is coming fast and furious, and I am busy thinking about what I want to finish before the end of the year and what projects I want to start in the new year. So I hope you're doing well, and let's dive in. Today's tea is from Bird and Blend. It is called Bonfire Toffee, and I purchased it last year during the holiday season, which I can tell because it's in their cute holiday wrapping. So Bonfire Toffee is Sri Lankan black tea, cinnamon, air-dried apple, Lapsang Souchong black tea, safflower, natural flavor, which must include the caramel. And I have a couple doses left, but this was a good one last year, and like I said, I'm bringing out all of my holiday teas and running through them. Today I'm drinking in my Hershey's mug from when we went to Hershey, Pennsylvania. There's no chocolate in this one, but it is a nice big mug that I can get my hands around, and I thought it would be nice. Today actually is not wintry. This is what winter is like in the Midwest. This past week we had a few days that were in the 30s. I think last week when I recorded it was in the 30s or 40s, and I said it was properly cold. This weekend it got up to 60, and tomorrow and Wednesday are supposed to be in the 70s. But then on Saturday we're supposed to be back down to 37 degrees. So we are bouncing all around. Winter is not here to stay yet. But yeah, that's what we're doing. So I did make myself hot tea today, even though it's warm. I am wearing a sweater because the house is still a little cool. It is still getting down into the 30s and 40s at night, even if it's warm during the day. But yeah, we are just bouncing around all over the place, which is also making my sinuses act up a little bit. So that's what I'm dealing with. So let's talk about the knits. I actually have 4 finished knits this week, and that is because I am on a hat kick. For those of you who were here last year at this time, you may remember that I gathered up all of my worsted and DK weight scraps, and I knit a ton of charity hats between the last, I think around Thanksgiving and then through the end of the year. The thing is that I have lots of worsted and DK weight scraps. I knit most of them up last year, but in the space of a year I have accumulated quite a bit more from all the projects I have been working on. And I love working through that stash to create hats for charities. This year I'm going to be working for 2 charities. I am knitting for a charity that a store that I work for supports. The store is Sealed with a Kiss, and it is in Guthrie, Oklahoma, and they support Sooner Success, which is an organization that supports families with children of special needs, or children with special needs. And every year around Halloween, they give out hats to the families. So the hat giving has already finished for this year. I sent last year's hats down in October, and they were a hit, and so I am now working on more that I will save for that. The other thing that I have is, so for For that project, I generally use superwash wools, non-wools, and acrylics. The reason that I do that is simply because it's easy care. You're giving parents who already have a full plate hats to care for their child, and it's a child, so it's sure to get dirty and misplaced and whatnot, and so I craft in easily cared for materials for that. I have a number of leftover skeins that are wool or wool blends that are not superwash, and for years I've been holding on to them because I am not sure where to donate. And after watching The Fat Squirrel, that's Amy Beth, watching the Fat Squirrels podcast this past week, she noted that you can donate pure wool to Wool Aid. So I think I probably have a few more hats on my list this year. I need to go pull out all of those scraps that I have sort of been holding in a different spot, and maybe I will do a few more hats for that. And I will say that those are in slightly more boring colors. Those are a lot of dark greens and things like that. But I am sure for Wool Aid, that will be fine. My guess is, since it's not children, there are children who will benefit from that. But my guess is some adults would probably prefer less bright and colorful hats anyway. So that's what I'm going to be supporting. I guess I shouldn't have quite started there because the first two hats, well, the first hat that I finished is not for charity. So the first hat that I finished is actually for my sister. And I was working on this last week and I showed you. This is the December hat by Irina Anikiva. And it was designed for Kelburn Woolen's Year of Hats, which I believe was in 2019. And originally it was to introduce their Germantown yarn. I knit this using their Lucky Tweed, but both are Aran weight, so I thought it would work, and I think it worked really nicely. The cables don't pop quite as well with the Lucky Tweed as they did with the Germantown, because Germantown is a more rounded, worsted spun yarn, and this is a little bit more woolen spun and tweedy, but I am pleased with this. This is a skein of Lucky Tweed from Kelburn Woolens, and it is in the colorway Mulberry, and my sister requested a hat this year without a pom-pom because she wants to wear it under her coat hood. And she loves pom-poms, so I've always put pom-poms on her hats, and she said they're too big for with the hood. So she picked out this skein while I was there over Thanksgiving, and I knit it up, and now that I have shown it to you, I'm going to take a few photos, and then I am going to send it off to her this week. This pattern is lovely. It is sadly only available on Ravelry. I downloaded the Year of Hats in 2019. There are 12 patterns. They are all free. I downloaded them in 2019, so I have them on my hard drive and can reference them. If you can use Ravelry, you can get them. Sadly, I do not think they are available on the Kelburn Woolen site. I went looking to see if I could link them, and it doesn't appear that they are on there. This is a kind of a fun cabled pattern, and it does... It's only one repeat of a chart. It does have some rhyme and reason to it, but I did have a little bit of trouble when I was making it because the color was so dark and I kept working on it in the evenings, and most of the rows are not the same, do not repeat, and so I had a little bit of trouble picking my way through it, but that was completely on me, not on the pattern. The pattern is charted, and it is very well written and easy to do. So that is the... December hat by Irina Anikiva, and I knit it in Kelburn Lucky Tweed, and that will be getting packaged up this afternoon and sent off to my sister, who I'm sure will appreciate it. So the second hat that I knit was not expressly for charity, although I probably will just throw it in there. The second hat that I knit was for a class that I helped teach last week for Zen Yarn Garden. And that is Howard's Tam. It is by Lisa Wong, and it was a pattern designed for Zen Yarn Garden to be used with their worsted weight yarn. I went ahead and knit it in one of their new worsted bases. This is Nightshade worsted, and the deal is that this is one of those marled yarns that has one thread that is black and the other threads take the dye. And this is in their signature Xena colorway. Xena is their new French bulldog, and so The yarn is a mix of brown and black. And now that I'm looking at it on camera, it looks like it obscures the cables just a little bit. This is a very simple cabled hat. I actually knit one extra repeat of the cables because I wanted it to be a little longer and slouchier. I did not end up there. It ended up being just a slightly less tight-fitting beanie, but it is a really nice hat, and their superwash wool is absolutely glorious. It's just squishy and warm and cozy, and I do have enough left over that I could put a pom-pom on it, but I really like that this is kind of in darker colors. I just feel that this would be a great hat for a man, and so I'm not going to put a big pom-pom on it because I'm just not sure that that's what someone might be looking for, and so I might donate this to Wool Aid or somewhere. It's an adult size hat, and it's got quite a bit of stretch to it. It was an easy to knit hat pattern. It's just a few dollars on Ravelry, and it would be great for any worsted skein you have. Like I said, it's just a simple cable pattern, and then it has a really nice set of decreases on the crown, which of course you can't see because my skein is kind of variegated. It just has a real nice way of finishing the cables out at the crown, and so that was another hat that I finished this week. I had had the brim done before, but I did the entire hat this week. So then I started going into my my bag of treats to pick out some leftovers, and I knit a couple hats. The first one I knit in acrylics, and this is Stylecraft DK in, I believe, the colorway Storm. I had it left over from either the... Well, I don't think I had it left over from the blankets that I did for the kids last year, where I... Was that last year or this year? That was this year. No, that was last year. I did the crochet blankets for the kids and I sent them off to them. This was one of the colorways in it, but I think I ordered an extra skein for another project I was doing, and I had almost the full skein left over. These are DK weight acrylic, 330 yards to the skein, so it's great yardage. And what I did is I pulled up my Undaunted hat pattern. This was a hat pattern that I designed for Knitter's Pride several years ago. It is a free pattern and it is available on the Knitter's Pride blog, so you do not have to go through Ravelry to get it. And it is just a free pattern for basically kind of a waffle or broken rib hat. And so I went ahead and knit one of those, and I did put a pom-pom on top. This will either go to the store in Oklahoma, or I might send it off to Hat Not Hate since it's blue. Sometimes I send hats to them. That is Lion Brand's organization founded against bullying. And so this is just a real simple hat, super squishy, super nice. I made the larger size. The hat comes in 2 sizes, and I made the larger size figuring it might accommodate someone with more hair or a bigger head. So that is that one, and I probably have almost enough to do another full hat, so you will probably be seeing it again. I really like this acrylic. You know, there is a time and place for acrylics in this world, and I am not gonna spend any time arguing with anyone over use of yarns, but they are super. This particular acrylic yarn, the Stylecraft DK, is super soft. It is not crunchy or squeaky at all, and it's just delightful, and it wears really, really well, and of course it is super easy care. So this is a perfect use for yarns like this to be sent to people who may not have the resources to wash their hats frequently, or who may just need easy care options. So that is hat number 3, and finally hat number 4 is just a take on a vanilla hat. It is just a cast on with a 2x2 rib, and then just a stockinette hat with kind of a round pattern of decreases at the top. I would say it is loosely based on the barley hat because I use that for a lot of my numbers, but this is just this is a standard hat that I have developed as I have been knitting these hats over the last few years, and so I just cast on and go. Part of the reason it's stockinette is because it's easy peasy. I can knit in the round, and these are this red is the leftover from Miles' hat this year, which was a skein of Malabrigo, and I don't remember what the colorway is, but it is one of their reds. It's Malabrigo Rios, and then the top part is some leftover Zen Yarn Garden DK, and I used this in my Comfort Fade cardigan. It was one of the colorways in there, and it is a gray kind of overdyed with bits of red. And so I thought that made a nice, fun, slightly festive hat. And so that one will be placed in the donation bin. So that is the 4 hats that I completed this week. Let's talk about a work in progress. I only have one, and it's very small. I talked last week about how I was going to start on Valentine's Day socks for the kids. I know it's super early, but what happens is usually I don't think about it, and then we get to January 15th and I go, oh crap, I have 2 weeks to make Valentine's Day packages for the kids. This is something I started when Roxy was about 18 months old, and I don't know how much longer I'll continue it, but I like sending them a little package for Valentine's Day. I usually put in some chocolates and then a little toy or a pair of socks for each of them. So I am starting on some socks for Roxy. I'm about halfway through the first sock. I just completed the heel turn, and now I'm working on the gusset. And I am using a leftover skein of Zen Yarn Garden. I have the leftovers from all the projects that I have made for Zen Yarn Garden, so you are going to be seeing them a lot in the next few weeks because that is what I am using to knit hats and other projects. This is a skein, and I cannot remember what the colorway is. It was a skein that I used to knit Tammy Gore's Drifter shawl, and it is it reminds me of a couple things. The first thing that I thought is it is all kinds of dark browns and coffee browns and a little bit of red. And so I decided it was the perfect kind of chocolate and heart colorway for Valentine's Day. I thought I could work that in. And the more I look at it, the more I think Robin Redbreast with the darker brown for some of the body and then the orangey red tone for the robin, because I have more recently learned that Robin Redbreasts are not really red. They're really quite a bit more like brown and orangey mottled tones. Anyway, I have plenty of this skein left over. It is their super fine fingering, 100% merino. It is gorgeous and super squishy. There isn't any nylon in this base, which doesn't make it 100% ideal for socks, and their colorways are gorgeous. So most of the time I don't think about using them in socks. But to be honest, Roxy is probably going to outgrow these before she wears them out. So, you know, that's just a fact. So I don't have a problem using them. And I don't know that she's terribly hard on her socks. I don't hear about holes in the socks. And I think actually most of her socks end up getting passed down to her little brother. So anyway, so this is what I have so far. Again, like I said, it's rich chocolates and a little bit of red. It's kind of subtly striping up there, or sort of pooling just or flashing a little bit. And then, like I said, I did the heel flap, and I'm working on the gusset. These are on my Knit Pro Zings in size US 1, and I am working on 52 stitches. And so this is the first sock. Hopefully I will work on more this week, but I'm also kind of letting myself work on whatever I want to work on here at the end of the year. You know, I do have things that I should start on, like these, but I'm also having fun knitting hats. A couple other yarny things this week that I thought I would share with you. The first is I pulled out the skein that I want to use for Miles socks, and technically it is a Christmas skein. It is one that I ordered a couple years ago. I talked about this last week. It is from Woolly Wonka Fibers, who sadly is no longer dying, although some of her yarns are still available while they last over at the Yarn Guys, and but that's not the name of their site. Wall of Yarn. Some of her yarns are still available over at their site. This is the Rhiannon sock base, which is a 75-25 superwash merino nylon, 465 yards to 100 grams, and this is the colorway Whoville. So it is not, it is a Christmas colorway, but it does not necessarily read as a Christmas colorway. It also reads to me as like very springy, bright. It's got pinks and reds and greens. And I also thought that it would make a fun pair of Valentine's Day socks. So I think I'm going to wind this up and knit some socks for Miles out of this. I know based on my foot size that I can easily get a pair of socks for Miles and myself out of this skein. So I will likely knit Miles' pair first. But then part of me is like, ooh, I could just knit Christmas socks, and I'm totally going to knit those handspun socks. That is going to be my Christmas Eve cast on. But am I going to cast on for another pair of Christmas socks right now? I don't need any more socks, but this colorway is just so fun. So I don't know. I'm going to wind this up, and maybe you'll see it next week. If not, you'll see it in the next coming weeks as I do Miles socks. So again, that's Willy Wonka fibers in the Rhiannon sock in Whoville. And last I checked, there were a couple of these left at Wall of Yarn. So if this is something you think you might want, hurry on over, because when it's gone, it's gone. Lastly, what I wanted to show you is an order that came in. I might have had, no, I don't think I had this last week when I podcasted. This was a Black Friday purchase. As I told you, when I went up to my sister's, everybody had requests for sweaters and hats and shawls, oh my. And so my mother actually requested a sweater. I haven't knit her a sweater, but well, I guess technically I knit her a tank top years ago, but I don't know if she still has it. It wasn't the best fitting. I made one for myself and one for her, and I don't still have mine, so she might not still have hers. Anyway, she requested a sweater, and we decided that it should be in fingering weight yarn because she lives in Los Angeles, so the weather is fairly mild most of the year. And when I sort of I did let her take a look at Ravelry because it was the easiest way to look at things. She kept picking out patterns by Joji Locatelli, which is just fine with me. Joji's patterns are beautiful and well written, and they are a pleasure to knit. So I haven't completely picked out which pattern I'm doing yet, but the yarn did arrive, so I thought I would show that to you. This is Monostil Uruguay Alegria, which is 75% merino superwash, 25% polyamide, 445 yards per skein, and this is the colorway Thistle, which is kind of a purpley mauve. And it's just beautiful. It's definitely in my mom's color wheelhouse. She loves berry tones. And I thought this was going to be a little bit pinker than it is. It's definitely much more purple, like a thistle. So I have 3 skeins of this to work on a sweater for her, and I'm hoping that's going to be really nice because this is just a semi-solid, kettle died. One of my other lights actually fell over. It's not up right now, but it was off balance and it fell over. This is a semi-solid kettle dyed, so it will be really, really nice for a sweater, and I have 3 skeins of that. So you will be seeing me cast on for that soon. I promised her the sweater for her birthday, which is the beginning of March. So this will definitely be a January, February project, and I might cast on over the holidays. We'll just have to see how much free time I have and what else crops up. So I need to swatch for it and pick a pattern first. That would probably be the first step. Pick a pattern, swatch for it, and then think about starting that. So that is what's coming up on my needles. So we're going to take a very, very quick detour into spinning because I don't have a lot to show you, and then I'm going to get you out of here. So I did finish 2 spins this past week, sort of 1.5 spins, and they are spins I've been working on since before Thanksgiving. Both were fiber from the art club, which is Nicole out at the Harveyville Project. She runs Yarn School, and several of us bought fiber from her before the holidays, and I love her fiber offerings, and I'm also doing everything I can to support her because Yarn School is an event, and unfortunately it has not been held in the last 2 years due to the pandemic, and that is one of her big income sources. So I have tried to support her by buying fiber from her shop, and several people in my yarn group wanted to support her, or in my knitting group wanted to support her, but some of them don't spin, so I offered them spinning services if they wanted to buy some fiber, and one of the people in my knitting group took me up on that, and I showed you this fiber a few weeks ago. This is a almost powdery blue, and the camera is blowing it out. It is almost a powdery blue, and it has Angelina in it, so it is absolutely sparkalicious. And I think this was called like Swirly Pants Sparkle or Sparkle Pants something. It is merino, and it's really hard to see because it looks very it's a very icy blue, and it also has slightly darker bits and slightly lighter bits. There's some white silver in here, and then there's all the silver Angelina. So I finished plying that last night. My Hanson mini spinner is still out of commission. I told you last week that I snapped the drive band on it. It was pretty old and dried out. I am still waiting for the US Postal Service to deliver the new one, but I did not want to wait any longer to to get this done because, like I said, I have had this fiber since right before Thanksgiving. Of course, we were gone for 2 weeks on travel, but I do want to get it back to her. So I need to pull this off the bobbin this afternoon and then go ahead and wash it and give it a little bit of spa treatment, and then I can deliver it back to her. The other thing that I spun were some little extra bats that Nicole had stuck in the package. This is a collection of, this is 2 bats spun together, and she had stuck one in my package and one in Ashley's package, and Ashley had given me a bunch of other stuff, so I put my bat together with her bat so that I got an extra almost 2 ounces of fiber in this slightly darker blue. The camera is, again, blowing it out a little bit. It is fairly semi-solid. I mean, it is definitely different shades of a semi-solid, but there are definitely some lighter and darker tones in there, and I think even these together would be lovely. This was just a bunch of different shades of merino, some really dark teals, along with some really light blue and a little bit of more of a royal blue. There is no stellina in here, so it is not sparkly, but I just wanted to give her a little something back. And this one has been washed and is beautifully soft, and I'm actually pretty pleased with it. I applied both of these on my Ashford Joy. And I do not normally ply on the Ashford Joy, not because I dislike it, but because I got in the habit of plying on my mini spinner, which is faster, and it's an electric wheel, and so I don't have to treadle as much or play with it as much. And I got used to plying really quickly on my mini spinner, so I don't ply on my Ashford Joy anymore. So the last time I plied on my Ashford Joy, not these two, but the previous time, I was really unhappy with the results. It was not as consistent as I get on the mini spinner, which makes sense because I have to keep my feet treadling and my hands consistent, as opposed to just feeding things into the mini spinner and letting the mini spinner control the speed. So I was a little hesitant to ply these on there because I was a little afraid that I would either underply them and they'd be too loose, or worse, I would overply them and they'd be crunchy, which is what I did the last time because I was trying to ply and add enough extra twist into it to make up for the fact that I wasn't doing it on the mini spinner. So I am pleased that these have both come out nice and super soft, and that these are done, and hopefully later this week I'm going to get them back to my friend, which means this week I will start on the Hello Yarn Botany. It is a Rambouillet braid. I showed it last week, and that will be my spin this week, and it probably will hit the shop maybe over the weekend. I'm getting really close to Christmas, so I'm probably not gonna provide stocking stuffers for anyone for Christmas, but I will be working more on spinning too. My next several spins should be focused on going into the shop, so I can share some of that with you. And I have some interesting things that I've acquired in the last few months that I'm getting ready to spin. So I think that's it for today. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, or beginning of your day, I guess, because most of you will probably see this. If you watch it when it goes up, it will probably be Tuesday because it'll go up late Monday night. I wish you a wonderful week. I hope you are enjoying a cozy winter, or cozy winter season, or enjoying your warm weather, depending on where you are in the world. If you celebrate, I hope you had a happy Hanukkah. I sort of glossed over that. And then we're kind of in that run leading up to Christmas and Kwanzaa and end of year festivities. So I hope you are not too stressed out, that you are finding a little time for yourself, that you are staying healthy and happy, and I should be podcasting through the end of the year because holidays are all on Saturdays, so that shouldn't affect our schedule. So I'll say until I see you next week, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.